Today is the 19th of May and I feel that I'm running out of time. Although 19th of May we consider the early summer or late spring, I have noticed that all the pines have started growing these very long candles, and in fact some of the flowers have even finished. So I need to catch them to show you what work needs to be done on all the pines before we run out of time. Time is such a precious thing that we never have enough of it, and there are so many chores to do on the nursery that we need to do it at precisely the right time. There's a lot of information about pines, but I've never seen any detailed information on how to deal with the candles and the flowers. Some people don't even know what the flowers are, and there's quite a lot of confusing information about how to deal with the flowers and candles on pines. Not only that, there are many different varieties of pine. Here on our nursery in Surrey in the UK, we have the native pines, which is the Scots pine, the ordinary Pinus sylvestris. I also have the dwarf Scots pine, which is Pinus sylvestris buvarensis. And then we also have other native pines like the Austrian black pine, and we have the contorta pine, or the forest pines that are grown just for timber but not often used for bonsai. And there's so many different types of mugo pines. And of the imported pines, we have the ordinary Japanese white pine, Pinus parviflora, and then there are variations on that. The ones which are grafted on black pine stock, the white pines that are grown on their own roots, and then there's Zuisho pine and there's Kokono pine. These are all 5-needle or white pine, and they all have different color flowers and different colored needles. So let me go through all of these and explain it to you. I'm now going to show you how we deal with the candles, and the only tools we need are really these scissors, what we call twig shears or pruning scissors. I don't need branch cutter or anything, but if you've handled pines at all, you know that pines give out a lot of sap or a sticky resin. So the blades get very sticky very quickly, and I have been pruning a few pines, so you can see how dirty the blades are. So I will also give you a little tip, because it may be worth learning what I do to the tools. I use this cleaner, and then with the little sharpener we just get all that sticky stuff off. You may find that you have to do it quite a bit because the resin is really sticky, but it will come off. You can see how it's coming off already. And on the outside as well. These little things are called sharpening pads. You can buy it from most bonsai stores. So that's got rid of most of that muck. So I think that is sufficient. So this tool is now ready for cutting. I'm going to start by showing you the easiest of the pines. The easiest of the pines to deal with are the Japanese black pine. I say it's easiest because they are extremely vigorous. The Japanese white pine is a less vigorous tree, so let's deal with the easy ones. If you left this candle to grow, this candle has grown in the last 4 weeks, and already it's about 4 to 5 inches long. This is what happened in previous years. This was last year's growth, and I took all the candles off, so it produced that much. This is this year's candles, and it's already turning into needles. This was the 3 previous years ago, so that candle has become that long. If you do not deal with the candles, they become long branches. It's as simple as that. So all candles become branches. So if you don't want the tree to get too big, like this one, you don't want the tree to get taller, then you remove everything. Literally remove everything. Don't let it grow anymore. I don't want to make it complicated. A lot of people make the treatment of pines very complicated. If I feel that the tree is tall enough over there, I can even prune this branch completely off, which I will do just to prove a point. I'll take these off. I'll keep the tree that high, and I can wire these. You can also pluck the needles off. By plucking the needles, you stimulate more bud development further down the branch. So plucking the needles off at this time of the year is quite a useful exercise, because you've got the new candles growing and these will become needles, so it will still produce food for the pines. Remember that the needles or the leaves of the pine are the food factories. So if you don't let the needles develop or don't leave enough needles on the tree will get weak. So these are the previous year's needles. Most pines, whether they are black pine, Scots pine or Japanese white pine, they usually stay on the tree for 2 to 3 years. So you get 1 year needles, 2nd year needles, 3rd year needles. And in the autumn, around October time, the old needles, the 2nd and 3rd year needles will drop off. So these candles here that you see, this candle has become long. This is current year's needle. This is the needles that have already been produced since March or April of this year. So these are this year's needles, 2019 needles. These are needles that were produced in 2018. And further down the trunk, these were produced in, I would say, 2017. So already these 2017 needles are turning brown and coming off. You can leave these on to strengthen the tree, but if you didn't want to have the 2nd year needles, you can remove that and then remove or half the candle so you still have some needles there, and just prune to shape. Just prune to shape. Now these candles, I don't want them to grow too long. There's only 2 there. I just cut it in half and you will get some budding back there. Even this is too long. I could remove it completely because there's some green there, but if you're in doubt, just remove a little bit or 3/4 of it, and then you will see that they will bud back. I'm just going to show you budding back on some of these pines. See, this is what you will get, these new shoots. I'm removing that one. If we home in on this branch here, you see how they bud back over here. And that is because I removed this candle completely last year, so it started budding back there. So I can create the pad by taking the tip out, because the tips of the pine shoots or the long candles are the most vigorous. If you remove that, you will send all the energy back into the branch and you will get these secondary buds forming, and that is how you create the pads. This is how you create the pads. As I say, the treatment of candles can be a very complicated subject, and a lot of people who teach or instruct you how to deal with the candles can make it extremely complicated, but there's no reason for doing that. So my basic advice is, look at this pine. We've created the S shape and this pad is long enough, so I will take this off. That candle is much too long, and you can see there are 3 buds there, very long one, 2 short ones. I can take the long one completely off, and even the shorter ones, when they develop, I'll take half of it off. Now, because I don't want this branch to go much longer, I'll take, say, half of it off as a compromise. And then you will get budding back here, and you will form the nice pads by getting more shoots to grow further back. So that's how you build up the pads and wire it down. Now, this is a very vigorous pine, and you can see these flowers are there. You can remove all of them, But again, what I'm going to do is really, this needs wiring. Because the candles become branches, all the vigor goes to the end and it gets a long branch without any growth further in. So you'll get bare branches in the middle. So not only should you be removing the candle, sometimes you can take it back to this point over here. I'm pruning a small branch. By doing that, I will encourage further bud back over there. Same with this one. There are buds here. If I remove that completely, you see the new bud coming there, it will keep budding further and further back. So you've got to keep doing that. If you don't do that, it will just get longer and longer. The tips will just get longer and longer and longer. And as you can imagine, I have so many pines, you've got to literally do all of them. I will eventually get around to it, like this one, another one, just to reinforce the learning process. You see, this was last year's candle, became 3-4 inches long. But I can take it back to this point here, cut there, and then it'll shorten that. I can even shorten these by half, and hopefully it'll bud back further there. So that's what you got to do all the time, and it needs to be rewired again so that you get more light between the branches. Don't let it keep growing upwards. See, this is in dire need of rewiring, so this will have to be done in that way. But if you just want to keep the pine looking a nice conical shape, then just prune the tips off. All evergreens, you need to have green shoots to pull the sap. If I were to prune the branch over here, like so, remove everything, this part will die because there's no green to pull it up. But if I were to prune, say, over here, there's still green pulling here. I can remove that one, but there's still sap coming up. So this will continue to live. So you must never leave a bare branch, because that will cause the whole twig or branch to die. So you've always got to have some green to pull the sap. So the green shoots, both in junipers and pines, are what we call the sap pullers. They pull the sap up and keep the tree growing. Now this is another interesting pine, again covered in flowers. The flowers, don't worry about them. I just let the flowers finish, the pollen come off, and because this is such a vigorous, healthy pine, I will probably just reduce all the needles, or all the candles I should say, by half, and hopefully it'll bud back further there and you'll get a very nice pad formation. Same with this one. You see, this is again quite healthy. So this one, there's quite a lot of shoots there, so I can easily take the center out and hopefully it'll bud back further there. I don't want it to get extended too long. Like this one, there's a nice healthy shoot there and there's shoots here. So I can safely take these two off. I can take this one off and take this one off. So I can control the length of the twigs or the branches. So this is what you do to all of them. So all of them. I don't want this to grow longer, so I can, now here I don't have any new buds there. So if I were faced with this situation, if I cut this off, this will continue to grow. But I can also cut all the candles by half, and then hopefully it will bud back there. Can you see some of these buds? This is what happens. These little buds will develop. So they do bud back on wood. You can see what's happening here. They bud back on wood. But the secret is to keep the tree healthy. If you have a weak and unhealthy tree, then the pine will not grow strong and you will not be able to deal with the candles. I've seen on some other YouTube sites people dealing with very sick white pines and they're removing all the candles. That's the worst thing you can do. So you must keep the tree healthy. So feed the tree well, keep it strong, and when it starts shooting and producing new candles, then you can consider removing the candles. But if a tree is weak, do not touch it. So all these trees, you can see all our pines are very strong. All it needs is rewiring and dealing with the candles to keep the outline in shape.